I'm watching on Deadspin. I'm watching that GIF you were talking about. God.
Like every time you look at it, you think it's going to go in, right?
Yeah.
It's inexplicable how it just kind of flutters on edge and just saucers towards the goalpost.
And you know the worst part of that? You could set her on the ice there by herself, give her 50 tries to do that again, and she wouldn't be able to do it.
Right.
Just no way.
Well, the other part about this, too, is the referee actually caused that one, too, because if you look, when the player goes to hit the puck, the referee's in the way. She was just going to hit it elsewhere, but she had to adjust to the left and avoid the referee's skate.
God, I mean, that is just.
Oh yeah, the IIHF officials are terrible, regardless of tournament.
I mean, as seen with the Russia,
bad, but
that was. Ugh.
Yeah, but you know, this was a great appetizer to the course that will be served tomorrow when Canada takes down Team Dream Team.
Excuse me?
Excuse you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And,
I just want to say. Go ahead, Zach.
Go finish your thought, because if it's on the women's game, then I had something else to say about the men.
No, I was going just to say to Mike that tomorrow we play for the right to play for the gold medal. So maybe that the new age approach to team building isn't as ridiculous as you thought.
Well, it's not just playing for the right for the gold medal, Greg. There are, as a billboard in Chicago has announced, there are much more dire consequences on the line.
Oh, really?
Such as
loser keeps Bieber.
We should just make that an annual thing.
Really?
Yeah, Canada and the U.S. put their hockey teams together. The losing country keeps Bieber for that year.
That's going to fire up both teams, regardless of who wins tomorrow. That alone should make it one of the best hockey games we've ever watched, because neither team is going to want to lose.
All I'm saying is that Team USA, got fat on a bunch of Eastern European punks.
Please. Eastern European punks.
I will defer to my esteemed colleague
on this. What did Canada beat?
We beat Finland.
Yeah, Finland's decent. Who else?
Norway and Switzerland, I think. Latvia. We beat Latvia.
No, you didn't even play Switzerland. It was Norway and Austria.
Austria. Come on. I know they're no good.
You struggled to beat Latvia.
Yes, this is true.
All the U.S. has done is beaten all comers.
We're undefeated in this thing.
So are we, but we've had more impressive undefeatedness.
Yes, you beat a Russian team that's notorious for choking, and then beat the Czechs and the Slovaks, who are not the powerhouses they used to be, and you beat
and the Fighting Kopatars,
and you beat Slovenia. Okay, I was pulling for Slovenia the entire tournament, but I'm not going to lie, a powerhouse they are not.
The Fighting Kopatars?
Yes.
I mean, that's what they are.
His dad's the coach, isn't he?
Yeah. It's a real shame that his dad had to cut his brother from the team, but
Wow, that's some cold stuff right there, man.
I know. For Angers to make the team, they had to cut his brother.
Wow.
Oh, God. But Slovenia, they represented. They managed to beat Slovakia, and then they beat Austria to advance to the second round of the elimination round.
So wait, who have we beaten, Zach? Like I was telling Mike before, I have the NBC and life has conspired against me, and the best I've been able to do is watch the awfulness of figure skating with an occasional bobsled run or a skiing run thrown in on the primetime stuff on NBC. So who have we beaten to get here?
We in our opening game, we demolished Slovakia 7-1.
Right.
Then we played Russia in the epic shootout game.
Okay.
Then shootout move.
Yeah. Well, that's what TJ Oshie got on the team for, and it paid off, I guess. Then we beat Slovenia like 5-2, I think, or 5-0. Yeah, Ryan Miller got the shutout. It was 5-0. And then we beat the Czechs 5-2 in the quarterfinals.
That sounds impressive to me.
So now we play Canada tomorrow.
We play Finland.
You beat Finland in overtime.
Yeah, still beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now we're getting into.
You also struggled against Norway and Latvia. So.
Oh, we didn't struggle against Norway. That thing was in the bag. It was just a slow start.
Like college football, we're giving out style points now. And
well, I mean, the other thing is
win's a win, man. Win's a win. W.
The best part about Canada, what Canada's done, is their forwards aren't even at this tournament apparently because the defensemen have scored more than half their goals.
Really?
Yeah.
Mike, your counter?
My counter is that if our defense is that good, just wait until our offense kicks into gear tomorrow, and we light your dream team asses up.
Well, who was in the other semifinal?
Finland and Norway.
So whoever wins tomorrow is probably going to win the gold, right?
Sweden, yeah. Finland, Sweden, sorry.
So whoever wins tomorrow probably wins the gold?
No,
I don't know.
No, Finland and Sweden are good.
Oh, man. Are they? Okay. Well,
yeah.
So we might be talking all the smack and be lucky to go home with the bronze, either one of us. In other words. All right.
Yeah.
Well.
See, that's the thing. Even if they lose, it's not an easy bronze medal game because you get Sweden or Finland, who have world-class goaltending and elite forwards.
Honestly, the four best teams are in the Final Four. So.
Yeah, easily.
And it's just, oh God, how rewarding was it to see the Russians lose on home ice? Okay, I feel kind of bad because I know Ovechkin's grandmother was probably shot.
Well, I just read something today where Ovechkin was delaying his flight back to the U.S. because his father had to have heart surgery. Who knows why?
That's punishment.
Yeah, I'm not one for Bill O'Reilly usually, but he had a great comment about the Russian hockey team. You're never seeing that team again. They're disappearing to Siberia.
Oh, they can't do that because we need our goalie back in Columbus when this is all said and done. How did he do anyway? How did Bob's play throughout? I mean, I know that they lost and everything.
Well, you know what's weird?
Did he only play decent?
They didn't play him in the final.
He played
game.
one game.
That's it?
He played against the Americans, and that was it. Otherwise, the one was Semyon Varlamov, who I don't think is the better goaltender.
Yeah, it was so weird because Bobrovsky actually played a very solid game. His one outing.
He played very solid. He just happened to go up against shootout dynamo TJ Oshie.
And so they throw. I mean, who knows? Maybe they still lose with Bob in, but they did not help themselves with that goaltending choice.
Well, you know what? It's not the goaltending's fault. I think their goaltending actually played decently for the defense that they had in front of them. Mm-hmm. The problem was, as much offensive talent as the Russians have, they couldn't score. Mm-hmm. And it's really that's been their problem for the last 20 years since the Soviet Union broke up. They have a bunch of offensive talent, but they don't ever come together as a team. Like you look at even after when Finland beat them, and it was something that Teemu Selanne said after the game is, we all know our roles and we play as a team. We come together whenever we have to play these international competitions, and we come together and sacrifice ourselves for team hockey. And the Russians just don't do that. Since the Soviet Union broke up, mm-hmm. they have not won a gold medal in any hockey competition, whether as the unified team or the Russian Federation. And what makes that interesting to me is before then, the Russians won everything. Yeah. Because when we went to the Olympics, they had a team of guys that had played together for 10, 12 years.
They also had a team that was essentially professionals in the Olympics, right. Which at that point didn't allow NHL players in.
Right. And so they were all professionals playing against essentially amateur squads for the most part. So once the Soviet Union breaks up, like it's just bad timing. The Soviet Union breaks up, professional players are now allowed into the Olympics, and all of a sudden Russia goes plummeting back down to the bottom. And, I mean, they certainly have talent, but they don't have a team.
No.
And, of course, now since they have that mandate to get KHL guys on the team, most of the KHL guys they got were on defense, and they suck.
I mean, let's be honest. With very few exceptions, even the talented Russian players are playing in the NHL. This mandate to stack the roster of KHL players, or at least have a quota, it's hurting. If those players were the best in the world, they'd be in the NHL.
Yeah, and supposedly that's something that the Czech Republic did too, which I thought was weird. They rewarded guys that were playing in the Czech League, and they left guys that play in the NHL and are good. They left them off the team, or they like the first game they sat down Yaroslav Halak or who was their goalie? Andrei Pavlik. Sorry, they sat him down in favor of some Czech League goalie. They got his face blown off. In whatever, I forget who they played in the first game, but I don't know. These European forms of thought to make their teams, as much as we criticize, the American, I guess, process this year, they like deliberately go and get worse players just to fulfill some. We're just to say, hey, our league's good. Like no,
that was my question. Talent-wise, I mean, where does the KHL fall? I'm certain it's not.
It's
at the
below
NHL
the
level.
AHL.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it comparable to the AHL? Is it worse? Is it is it ECHL level? What?
Do you remember Michael Layton?
No.
He was a goalie in the NHL. He was a longtime backup, journeyman goaltender. Mm-hmm. He's leading the KHL in save percentage. So
yeah, the KHL presents itself as the equal of the NHL, but it's really not. The only thing they have going for it is that the teams are all owned by like Russian gangsters.
Yeah,
and thus
they present themselves as equal as a propaganda thing.
Sure.
Because they actually are.
And they have treasure chests of rubles to play players, and they generally, can get a high-end Russian player or two to come back, kind of just playing on don't you want to come home and play?
Listen, I make you a great deal. You come back, I give you 50 billion rubles, and I don't kill your grandmother.
Pretty much, yeah. But,
we were talking, I think it was last spring, that Bobrovsky, there was talk that he was going to sign with the KHL. Because
but he lives in Columbus in the middle of Ohio, which I don't imagine is all that dissimilar from Russia in terms of climate.
Not this year, at least. No,
no, and
it might actually be worse here this year, for all I know.
Right, and he's going to be in a better league with better competition, and probably ultimately get better money. Really,
yeah.
If he lives up to it, but and that's the thing. If he doesn't play well, he could just go back to Russia and earn billions of rubles to be the best goaltender amongst a bunch of bad goaltenders.
Well, not to mention, I think, if my understanding is correct, that the travel is a little bit safer over here than it is in the KHL, too.
Yeah.
I mean, the plane crash aside, but there were a lot of maintenance issues and stuff with the planes they use. I mean, obviously there was the crash, but I mean, outside of that, it's not the greatest.
Just randomly fall from the sky, so.
Not the best thing.
It's Russia. Again, I point to you all to the construction projects, revolving around the Sochi games. This is the level of engineering you can expect in Russia in general.
Well, I was going to bring that up. Have the games been the disaster? I mean, obviously they haven't been the disaster we thought they were going to be.
No, it's. I think now that everyone's kind of settled in, with the general consensus is from people that are over there, all those complaints were just complaints about journalists that had nothing else to write about yet.
Yeah.
That they got there and all their stuff wasn't ready, and so they felt like crap. But from what I understand, all the venues and the Olympic or the athlete accommodations, save for one poor bad luck bastard American bobsledder that just had a rain cloud follow him around all week. Everything seems to be going off without hitch. I mean, really, the only problem was in the middle of last week, the weather kind of hit a spike, and the snow was melting in the mountains.
Yeah, I was watching skiing.
The ski races.
Yeah, I was watching the skiing where it was actually raining while they were skiing.
Right.
Well, I mean, Zach talked about this when we first started to cover the Olympics. Sochi is not a winter town. It's
a subtropical climate.
Yeah, it's like a resort town. It's where people in Russia go to get away from the snow.
So it's their Florida, essentially.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on the accommodations, every other men's hockey team had 4 beds to a room for the accommodations. The Russians, each player got their own room.
Well,
Well, of course.
That's the home field advantage.
I mean, it helped, obviously.
Yeah, it really did them a lot of good, didn't it?
This Russian thing, you could see it coming. The Russian hockey team chokes. You can set your watch to it. They always choke. They always underperform.
No matter how much time goes by, a lot of these teams all end up having the same identities. And this is just what the Russians are. They're chokers. They're a bunch of individuals that don't like to play together as a team, and bad defense and Putin.
I will say this, though. I called it. I said Tretiak was going to light the torch, and he did.
Yeah.
So there you go.
He did.
Yep.
He lit the torch, and then the CBC commentators kept making Paul Henderson jokes.
Kept making what?
The entire time. Paul Henderson jokes.
Okay, I don't get the reference.
He was the guy.
It's the Canadian Miracle on Ice. Just
the 1972 Summit Series.
Oh, okay.
He was the guy who scored the game-winning goal against Tretiak for Canada.
See,
he's our Mike Eruzione.
I was just going to say I would get that if they make Mike Eruzione jokes, but I'm sorry.
Why would they do that on CBC, Greg?
Well, because first off, our win was way more impressive than yours.
Was it now?
And obviously much more important.
And much more important. I'm still waiting for